Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone has had a great day and made some spectacular gains. So I am going to be discussing the very last section of the Dawn of Day today, section 575, titled "We Aeronauts of the Intellect." And I feel like this encapsulates wonderfully the message or the work in progress that is the philosophy of Nietzsche. You know, he never really completed his work, and I feel like he did that on purpose. I think it will run contrary to who he is to create some sort of dogmatic philosophy, some absolute philosophy that everyone can follow. That'd be very hypocritical of him if he did that. So today, it's called "We Aeronauts of the Intellect," and I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Quote, "All those daring birds that soar far and ever farther into space will somewhere or other be certain to find themselves unable to continue their flight, and they will perch on a mast or some narrow ledge and will be grateful even for this miserable accommodation. But who can conclude from this that there was not an endless free space stretching far in front of them, and that they had flown as far as they possibly could? In the end, however, all our great teachers and predecessors have come to a standstill, and it is by no means in the noblest or most graceful attitude that their weariness have brought them to a pause. The same thing will happen to you and me. But what does this matter to either of us? Other birds will fly farther. Our minds and hopes vie with them far out and on high. They rise far above our heads and our failures. And from this height they look far into the distant horizon and see hundreds of birds, much more powerful than we are, striving whither we ourselves have also striven, and where all is sea, and nothing but sea. And where, then, are we aiming at? Do we wish to cross the sea? Whither does this overpowering passion urge us? This passion which we value more highly than any other delight. Why do we fly precisely in this direction, where all the sons of humanity have hitherto set? Is it possible that people may one day say of us that we also steered westward, hoping to reach India, but that it was our fate to be wrecked on the infinite? Or, my brethren, or fitting." End quote. This is amazing. He continuously talks about this. He also mentioned this in Beyond Good and Evil, but from a different analogy of the man in the mountain and stuff like that, and people going up and they're like, "Damn, boy, you weathered and beaten and you look a little rough, very rough around the edges. I don't want this anymore. We don't want to go through this. We don't want to transform ourselves into this battered, very rough, dry man. So we're going to go back down the mountain." And he was like, "Oh, I love that Beyond Good and Evil," because he speaks of Zarathustra. He's like, I still remember it because it's so fascinating when he's at the top of the mountain. He's like, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to keep waiting for more of my free spirits to finally accompany me when, someone is actually going to be willing to go down this road with me." And here's with the birds. He likes to make these analogies of the birds flying on high and continuously to fly on high. And like I said, this perfectly encapsulates his project. And what I've even mentioned before is that, especially now, I feel like, the reason that he's saying that we're flying on further and higher than ever before towards this specific direction, because now there is no existence of God, right? We no longer have religion. We no longer have any of that to be the foundations of our existence. It's time to find new land, right? It's time to find a new home. It's time to find a new world. And I feel like that's the very last sentence. Like, some people may think that we are destined to fail, that we're never going to find anything, that we're just going to see endless sea, or we may even see the end of the world and tip on over, as people used to think back then when people thought we were just like, they're like, "Oh, you're going to fly to the edge of the world and you're going to tip over." But then what happened? And they're continuously wanting of exploration. You have Columbus finding the new world, right? The Cuba and stuff like that. And the only way that you could do that is through risking it all, going further beyond than anyone before has ever gone, or within recent memory, because there was obviously people already here. But for the sake of this argument, right, like, you know, because at one point I'm gonna have to stop. At one point I'm not gonna be able to reach any further, due to my limitations, due to how much time it probably took you to even get there. But all you can do is set the groundwork for the next generation to completely overtake you and take our civilization, our minds, and our thinking into whole further new heights, into further lands, and one day maybe find something that can replace all of this. And you know, because I like how he mentions this, like he's like, in the end, however, all our great teachers and predecessors have come to a standstill, and it is by no means in the noblest or most graceful attitude. And I feel like this is kind of a snipe, because some people stop at a certain point and say non plus ultra or no further beyond because of their dogma or their biases. And the only reason that they went into this whole endeavor was to validate those biases to begin with, you know, this circuitous logic that takes place. But then there are others that we just want to see how far we can go. How far can we take? Oh, sorry. How far can we take our intellect? How far can we take this mind into depths and lands that we've never seen before? And I feel like that's what he put me on, that's for sure. So, you know, hopefully one day we can overcome this man and his great thinking and his great insight into the world. You know, and overcome his son and make him part of the shadow instead of the sun that guides us, which will take a huge effort, which will take a Herculean effort, because this man really did solve a lot of shit. So it's just quite astounding that, you know, look where we are now, and it seems like we're regressing. But it's fantastic, really. You know, I can't wait to continue on with this man's philosophy and continue to dive more into this man's mind and see where it takes us, where it takes me, obviously. You know, it's astounding. So I'm definitely going to read this book once again at some point in the future, just like Beyond Good and Evil. Probably like every other Nietzsche book, I'm probably going to have to read more than once, which makes sense because this is philosophy. But I just wanted to leave it off at that. I know I did not think this was going to be this short of a video, but you know, all we could do is just aim at what people think is of doomed efforts. And every single great project, every single great achievement has always started off as delusional, right? Everyone always thinks that you are doomed to fail, that it's beyond your reach, it's beyond scope of possibility, and somehow it is still achieved. It's like those great men that they're always considered as immoral in the beginnings of their career, or butchers, or terrible men, but given enough time, given enough victory, they become the father of their country, the new moral standard. And that's what you always have to take into consideration before going on any endeavor. It may seem insane, but who knows what's going to come out of that? Who knows? Maybe later on people will revere you instead of ridiculing you. Those same people that called you a fool will one day want to be like you. And that should give you insight into what this all means, right? But yeah, that'll be it. I'm going to go ahead and read some Epictetus before work. I'm going to leave you guys with this. You know, hopefully this inspires you to get on the dawn of day and, you know, formulate your own opinions on the content therein. You know, it's a very profound book, and I can't recommend it enough. So love y'all, and hope y'all have a great day, make some great gains, and until next time, peace.